You'll laugh, you'll cry, and you may even learn something about sports. Hi, I'm Rebecca Brayton, and welcome to WatchMojo.com. And today we're speaking with TSN hockey analyst James Duthie about his book, The Day I Almost Killed Two Gretzkys. Let's talk about the book, The Day I Almost Killed Two Gretzkys.
It's a book of columns. I've been writing columns for, I guess, the last decade. A lot of columns about hockey, but there's columns about my kids. There's always a tinge of sports to it, but there's a lot of it's really on the fringe of sports. Like, I think there's a column about my PVR and my remote control, and there's one about this unhealthy obsession I had with Anna Kournikova, so it's all over the map.
So let's discuss the title. Tell us how you almost killed two Gretzkys.
I was playing in Wayne's golf tournament 3 years ago, and it was a practice round. I was playing with Walter behind Wayne, and I almost killed two of them with shots over a two-hole span because I'm streaky that way. And I always thought that would be, what a legacy that would have been, to knock off the most famous Canadian ever and the most beloved father in Canadian history.
Roberto Luongo writes the foreword, which isn't necessarily an obvious choice. Why him?
I quite often do these sort of shtick, lighthearted pieces for TSN. We did a piece a few years ago on backup goalies, and it was on Jamie McLennan, who was Roberto Luongo's backup goalie in Florida. And instead of doing your typical piece on what backup goalies do, we did some elaborate plot line about how secretly he was fantasizing about offing Roberto so he could get more playing time, and we staged the scene where Luongo got run over by a Zamboni. Anyway, in the process of doing this, Luongo was very creative. He kept making suggestions about, we should do this, and most hockey players aren't exactly the most bubbly personalities, and so I got to know him a little bit, and I said, this guy's a lot funnier than people give him credit for. So I just thought when I was looking for someone to do the book that he'd be good, and he sort of gets my warped sense of humor a little bit.
Now, who would you say the audience is that you're targeting with this book?
When I started writing, I didn't want it to be just for the diehard sports fans. I didn't want it to be the typical column you pick up in your Montreal Gazette every day. I still think it's for sports fans, but I've been really surprised in just doing book signings and getting feedback at the people that have shown up for the book. A lot of moms show up that I guess like the columns about my kids, and a lot of younger people. I had a couple people write me, said they're 10, 11-year-old boys, or they asked them to read them a story every night before bed, so I guess kids are enjoying it. I panicked when I heard that, though, because I started to think if there was any inappropriate things I'd said in the book, which there probably are a few, but not too many.
Have you found that TSN has kind of allowed you to be more creative in your shtick over time?
In the writing especially. When I signed up to do columns in 2000, I said I want to write, but I said I don't want to write your typical stuff. I want to be able to write whatever the heck I think about, even if it's really on the fringe of sports. And they were really good. They said, just do whatever you want, and which was probably a mistake on their behalf. But so that allowed me to do a lot of things. And some of these shtick pieces that we do, like Roberto Luongo that I was talking about, they're really loose. We just did another Luongo piece. Because everybody was asking me if Luongo really wrote the foreword. I get that question a lot. Well, I said, yeah, Luongo is actually a very talented writer. He's a poet. So we'll debut the Poetry of Roberto Luongo, a collection of short poems by Roberto Luongo, which is pretty funny. And I shouldn't say it's funny. You should let people judge that, because when you say something that's funny, people are always disappointed. But no, it's been great. So you can't always be incredibly creative when you're hosting a panel, but the other things they let me do, I can.
Thank you very much.
Oh, no problem. Thank you very much.